even? No, shut up! Show the intro with the cartoon dogs, and then I'm gonna yell. Hi, kids. Victorious puppies. This team is ruining my life. Why do I watch hockey? Stress relief. We can, and we will. Leafs lose. What was that? 6-1 to the Philadelphia Flyers in this one. Okay, I guess I have time. I don't always do the If I Were You segment anymore, but today, Philadelphia Flyers fans, I have time. Let's start with a question. First LFR video against the Flyers, you said the Flyers were not a very good team. Do you still think that? Yes, I'm a Flyers fan, asking for a friend. Flyers still suck? Steve Dangle, are the Flyers still not a good team? Earlier in the season, I said that the Leafs should be beating teams like the Philadelphia Flyers, and they can't be losing games to teams like that. Why? Because the Leafs made the playoffs last year with over 100 points, and the Flyers did not! Also, in the midst of all that, the last 2 times that the Leafs played the Flyers was early on in November. But you'll remember that Brian Elliott played in those games, and even I said, ooh, Brian Elliott! And when the Leafs sent both those games to a shootout, I was concerned because it's Brian Elliott, who, in fairness, is currently sitting on a .916 save percentage. That is his best save percentage as a Philadelphia Flyer, and his first season above a .910 since he was with the St. Louis Blues. But Steve, there's Carter Hart, their big hope in net, yeah? Right around the time I was saying those things, oh, what happened? Oh! It looked like the young guy was getting shelled. The kid was getting shelled, which is exactly what a former GM of yours got fired for. Now, absolutely, in Carter Hart's defense, in Brian Elliott's defense, in the Philadelphia Flyers' defense, they've all been playing amazing hockey. Brian Elliott's been great, Carter Hart has recovered, and he is exactly as advertised. Alain Vigneault has whipped this team into shape. They've done a great job calling guys up from the minors. Oh my goodness, Travis Konechny, Claude Giroux is having a resurgence. Ivan Provorov, eh? So yes, full credit where credit is due. You have to give the Flyers full credit. They look like a playoff team. They look like a nightmare. They look like a well-oiled machine. But you'll have to forgive me for assuming that the team that always does dumb, cartoony things was doing more dumb, cartoony things. Speaking of which, the Toronto Maple Leafs. You'll have to excuse me a moment. What was that? Because I was watching this game in real time, and I was like, this game's actually kind of boring. You gotta give Carter Hart credit because he was absolutely fantastic in this game. You gotta give Freddie Anderson credit because he was the only Leaf who showed up! And Alain Vigneault did a great job of controlling home ice. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, you know, they tied it up in the third period and Claude Giroux got that one, okay, and then they sort of fell apart. But until then, it was actually a close game. Until then, the Leafs were totally in this and had a shot at 2 points. Until then, it was just that little blip, that little chunk of time that cost the Leafs the game. Shouldn't we look at the majority of the game where they look good? No! Because this is quickly becoming the story of every bloody Leaf game! The disinterest of playing without the puck, the disinterest in playing defense, the inability to pay attention to detail. And Mike Babcock tried to instill that in them with a wide variety of psychological warfare until the Leafs decided, hey, that's enough, here's a little fire in there for you. So now this is where Sheldon Keefe makes his money. This is where Sheldon Keefe has to come up big, because this is his team's first egg. They're 4-2 under him after this game. That's pretty good. This was his first Freddie Anderson loss in 5 games with him. That's not bad. But the end to this game, the 2-1 goal was atrocious. The 3-1 goal, I almost understand, because you're down and it's late and you're trying to get a goal. And the empty netter, it's an empty netter. And all of a sudden, Ghost Bear comes in. What the hell? And JVR. And are you even playing? Are you saving your energy because it's the second half of a back-to-back and you got to go home to a place where your visiting team is already at? Well, I tell you what, if that's the case, then I expect you to beat the Colorado Avalanche tonight. Yep, that's right, against all odds. I don't care how good the Avalanche are. I don't care if your backup goalie is starting. You will beat them. That is my expectation. And by that is my expectation, I mean that is absolutely not my expectation. I expected to get pumped 7-1 and booed off your own home ice. It is my demand that you beat the Colorado Avalanche after that piss-poor performance against the Philadelphia Flyers. This is the story of every game. Hey, they're playing fine. You get killed in those moments. You get slaughtered in those moments. You lose games. You lose playoff series. You get eliminated from the playoffs in those moments. Michael Hutchison should have at least a couple wins by now, and frankly, I don't think it's all his fault. Freddie Anderson, for crying out loud, you should win almost every game with him in net unless you screw it up for him. After the game, Austin Matthews said, "We just folded. It's unacceptable to do that to your starting goalie." Yeah, you're right. Wait, what? Said Michael Hutchison? I do not want to do this. I really don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm about to do this. Austin, who the heck is we? After the game, this chart was making the rounds on hockey Twitter. There's Cody Ceci all the way at the bottom. Listen, folks, I don't know if you know how to read these charts, and I'm not sure I do either, but being at the bottom's bad. My thoughts on Cody Ceci are well documented. I think the Leafs need to do something there, but we knew very well what the risk of getting him was. The whole point was to get rid of Nikita Zaitsev's contract, etc., etc. Speaking of contracts, Austin Matthews, great start under Sheldon Keefe. There's a goal. Hey, against Colorado, there's another goal. And an assist! How festive! Against Detroit, nothing. Well, it's okay. They didn't really need him that night. Oofa! Against Buffalo. And against Philly. Not to mention a sloppy penalty, although kind of penalty, with about 6 minutes to go in this one. In a one-goal game. We need more, we need more, we need better. Allow me to speak to all the players directly for a minute. I don't know if any of them watch, but I hope they do. What's the mission of this season? To win the Stanley Cup. Wow, groundbreaking stuff there, Steve. Every team wants to win the Stanley Cup. There's 31... Okay, Detroit. There's 30 teams around the NHL who want to win the Stanley Cup this season. But let's not mince words. The mission over the past week and a half, starting with the Arizona game, has been to make Mike Babcock look like a dick. It's obviously been a wonderful motivator, and it seems to have gotten your attention. You've been playing better hockey, in my opinion. You've been winning more games than you've been losing. Hey, that's a winning recipe. What do you think that guy with the stubborn, unflinching, I'm right face thought when he saw the final 5 minutes of that game? Don't do this for Sheldon Keefe. Don't do this for Freddie Anderson. Don't do this for the fans. Don't do it for anybody but yourselves. Don't even do it because you got a big old contract. Do it because winning's fun, isn't it? I don't think this team is dealing with the pressures of being expected to contend for a Stanley Cup, because does anybody expect that at this point? How could you expect that watching what you saw last night? We know that this team isn't good enough. So tell you what. If you need some motivation, do it to prove that we're wrong. So the Leafs finally got the right coach. What's up with last night? Is there a more serious issue with this team than we thought? Yep, these are the questions I'm starting to get, and I know it's only one egg that they laid, but gotta say I'm wondering myself. So many of the questions I'm getting are some variation of that, and we know the defense isn't good enough. We know, that's no shock. The Leafs need more out of Matthews. They do. They need more. More than goals. Well, goals are the hardest thing to get in hockey. Apparently not. They seem to come against the Leafs pretty easily. Do you think this team makes the playoffs? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what's better for my own personal health. That they don't even make it at all, or that they get creamed in the first round again. I don't know. I don't know. When does Riley Ceci stop being a thing? Not be a thing! Let me tell you something. Climate change is real. Climate change is real, all right? The Earth is hurting, and humanity is in danger, and we're gonna be on the brink. And then someone brilliant is gonna come along with this amazing plan, and humanity is gonna change their ways, and we're gonna figure this out, and we're gonna turn it around. From the brink of extinction, we will rise from the ashes, and then an asteroid will crash down, destroying Earth and everything with it. Except for the Riley Ceci pairing. They will be the only thing left on this planet. I am convinced of it. Fire Haxtell? This coming from a Flyers fan? Actually, funny enough, they're a Flyers fan. So Dave Haxtell was brought on, and he's basically the Leafs defensive coach. And also on the PK. Now, here's the thing. The Leafs PK sucked. Ever since they fired Mike Babcock, it's actually been really good. What I've been talking about since the beginning of the season, the Leafs fired both their assistant coaches. They bring in Paul McFarland to manage the power play, and they bring in Dave Haxtell to manage the penalty kill. Neither looked different at all, except for on the power play, they're like, we're gonna take this guy and we're gonna put him over here. It was no change. And then you watch all the games since Babcock got fired, and there's very thinly veiled things being said like, well, they're now being allowed to do their job. So if you actually consider the last 6 games as the first 6 games that Dave Haxtell was actually allowed to do his job with the Leafs, he's actually done quite well. How many points does Kadri get tonight? Nazem Kadri will score 8 points in his return to Toronto tonight, 1 point for every game he was suspended during the playoffs over the past 2 seasons. Yep, I'm mad! So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you liked this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Oh, for crying out loud, do any of us expect anything good out of this game tonight? Hey! While there's still air in my lungs, let me tell you, folks, that I have a book. and it's called This Team is Great and It's Never Done Anything to Bother Me, and it's available anywhere that books are sold. Buy it or screw off, I don't care. Oh my goodness, the backup is going to get shelled.